Lots of people are getting into Arduinos. These programmable microcontrollers are an amazing tool to practice with and play with to make personal projects. Here at the Arduino website, arduino.cc, you can download the software for the Arduino environment, and you can go in here and see what different products they have. Today we're going to be working on the Arduino Uno, and here is their page. You can come down and look at the technical specs on it. We'll look at this here in a little bit, but for a zoom in on the Arduino board, I just want to go over some of the architecture of the board and what's on here. We have a serial port here that you plug your computer into to program the Arduino, and through which the Arduino also communicates back to your computer. You have a voltage port here where you can supply the Arduino with a battery or something to run the board. Alternatively, the VIN pin over here is where you can supply the board with voltage. The Arduino Uno, coming back to here, you can look at the specs and see that the input voltage is between 7 and 12 volts. The limits, it can go from 7 to 20, but this is the range that you should really stick with. It doesn't source a lot of current, 20 milliamps on a pin. So keep that in mind as you're wiring your projects up. There's not a lot of current available on the Arduino. You should probably be running higher currents through something like a MOSFET. We'll get into those things lots later. Okay, so looking here at the board, we have, as I said, the VIN pin. This is how you turn the board on, supplying it with a voltage. If you plug it into your computer's regulated 5-volt supply will power the board. But when you unplug your computer, this is where you are going to go in. This is a 5-volt regulated output voltage and a 3.3 regulated output voltage. On this side of the Arduino, you have the RX and TX ports here. These are internally connected to the serial ports on this serial plug here, and you can use them to communicate with other Arduinos or any serial device. These pins here, 0 through 13, are digital pins, digital input-output pins, and the ones that are marked with this little symbol here are PWM pins, which stands for pulse width modulation. And this allows you to be able to control voltage on the output of the pin anywhere from 0 to 5 volts by a pulse width modulation. We'll talk about that later. Okay, and then on this side, we have the analog input pins. This is where you'll read in the value from a sensor and convert it to a voltage or something like this. There are a few LEDs on the board. This one tells you when the Arduino is on. Here's an internal LED that you can access in the program. You can cause this LED to blink on the Arduino. And here are the RX and TX LEDs that will light up when serial communication is happening. So that's the basics of the Arduino. A couple more things here. There's a reset pin here that's internally connected to this reset button. If you poke this button, it will run the program from the beginning, and you can send a voltage to the reset pin to do the same thing here on the board if you want to reset it in that way. Okay, so let's open up the Arduino file here and show you the environment. So when you open up a new sketch, and we call this a sketch, and this is what you'll see. A few things to look at here on this. Go into Tools. So where you're going to select your board. I'm running an Arduino Uno, so I select this one here, and then go back in here, and I can tell it what port I'm on. It recognizes my Arduino Uno here on COM9, but I'm going to unplug that. I have as well a no-name brand Arduino Nano, and I'll show you on that. So I can come in here and check the Arduino Nano, and then you'll see here that on the port, it doesn't recognize that this is an Arduino, but it does say COM3. I'm going to click on COM3, and that will connect the program to my Arduino. So you can either buy Arduino brand, or you can buy some knockoff brands. They're a lot cheaper, in some ways less reliable, but you kind of do the math. Usually you can get an Arduino Nano for $3, and buying one from the Arduino website is something like $18. So you can buy quite a few of them and have a couple go bad without it being too big of a deal. Okay, so that's the tools menu where you select your board and the port. You always have to do this before you can run your Arduino. There's another thing to look at here, and that is what processor it's using. You may have to, if you have an old Arduino, use the old bootloader here. And whichever one you buy, it will tell you which mega processor it's running. So I'm going to go back to the Arduino Uno, and we're going to work on that. So we'll click that in here. And port 9. Okay. Next to know, as usual, we have the new and open, and save as, etc. We also have this sketchbook. These are all of my programs that I've written. I can also go to Open Recent and just open whatever I'm working on. And additionally, you have this library here. There are a number of libraries you can download off the internet. Arduino comes with a few. Libraries allow you to run different devices with your Arduino. For example, here's a liquid crystal display library. There's a servo library here. I'm going to click on this, and it will include this servo library in my sketch. And this just allows me to be able to more easily run and program a servo. So I'm going to undo that and go back in here to File. If you have a library downloaded, you can go to Examples, and you can see some of the examples on these. So let's look at the servo example. We're going to look at the sweep here. We'll open up this new sketch, and this just runs a sweep code. So it explains what the code is doing and includes this servo library here, and kind of walks you through it. You also have some tutorials available here in these links in the top of the sketch. Okay, so that's the basics of the sketch. There's also a couple more buttons up here. This is the verify button. It compiles the sketch. It decides whether or not it is a legitimate sketch or not, and will throw errors if you write something incorrectly. This button is to upload your program to the Arduino. You have a new file, open and save here, and then on this side you have a serial monitor. So let's get going and write our first sketch and put some of these tools to use. There are two required things in any Arduino sketch: the void setup and the void loop. This, as you can see, runs your code just once, whatever you put in here, and this one will run repeatedly, hence the name setup and loop. So I'm going to delete this. This is just a comment. Anytime you want to make a comment that will not be run by the program, you begin with these two slashes, and then whatever you write will not be read by the program. So to begin with, we need to set up a serial communication with our Arduino so we can communicate with it. To do that, we write this keyword serial and begin. Serial.begin is the way that we initialize the serial port. We have to give it a baud rate here, which is the bits per second, which is the speed at which it communicates with the Arduino, and we're going to write 9600. There are other options for bitrate or baud rates. Right now, just stick with 9600, and we'll probably talk more about other options later on. So the first code that we're going to write here, this is going to be in the setup. It will run one time, and then it will not run again until you start the program new. So we would like to print something to the screen to know that our Arduino is hooked up. So we're going to call the serial monitor, or the serial port again, and this time we are going to ask it to print something. So serial.print, and then whatever we write here, we need to use quotation marks, and we can say something like hello world. And we close it with the parenthesis. And I forgot to tell you about this. There is a semicolon that I put here on the end of this line, which ends this line. It tells the Arduino compiler as it's going through to read this line, and now it knows that I have finished a command, and the next line is a new command. If you don't put this here, I'll show you, when we go to verify, it's going to throw an error to the screen. It'll say that I did something wrong here. So let's do that. I'm going to call this tutorial. So it has an error. I'm going to show you the entire thing here. So it says that there's an error, and this is the file path to the sketch that I'm using. The error is in void setup, and it's on line 5 here. The error is, it says it expects this semicolon before this token. You can see here that the void setup, it fits between this and this curly brace. And what happened is it read this line and it got to the end of the line, but it wasn't told that that was the end of the line. So it came down and it saw this and said, I don't know what to do. So it's expecting the semicolon before it sees this. Otherwise, it doesn't know how to read the program. So every line that you write in Arduino, you have to end with a semicolon. So we're going to put that here. And then this will be a valid program. When we compile it, it will be okay with this. So what will this program do? It will come into the setup and run this once. It will begin the serial communication. We'll set up a baud rate or bits per second at 9600. And then it will come in, it will print to the serial monitor hello world. So I've compiled it. Now I'm going to upload it. It recompiles and then it uploads. So it says it's done uploading. We come over here to the serial monitor, and this is how we can communicate with Arduino. And as you can see here, it's printing hello world and sitting here doing nothing else. So there is your first program on the Arduino. You can write whatever you want here. Let's just add something else. I'm going to copy and paste this down here. This prints, but it doesn't enter a new line. So if we want to print on a new line, we have to put print line here. I'm going to add that to this one as well, print line. So I can say hello world, and then I can put in here something like, my name is Joseph. Oops. Okay. If I upload this now, I will print hello world. It will go into a new line and write, my name is Joseph. So let's open this up. And it says, hello world, my name is Joseph. Seems pretty simple, pretty silly. Let's write in the void loop and show you what happens there. If I get rid of this and I put it in the loop, so here it is in the loop, you'll see it will run hello world once, but it will repeat this over and over again. And you'll see kind of how fast this loop runs. So we need to upload that first. When it's done uploading, I can click this button here, or I can use the shortcut Control Shift N. All right, so you can see it's just printing over and over, my name is Joseph. And you can see this bar scrolling. First it printed hello world in the setup, it did that one time, and then it's just going over and over again and writing, hello, my name is Joseph. We can continue scrolling, and this will just go on and on and on. So I'm going to close that out. Another shortcut key, instead of hitting upload, you can hit Control U, and this will upload the sketch. And another shortcut key that's really convenient is the Control R, which will verify. So I hit Control R, it will compile the sketch, and it's done compiling there. So this is your first tutorial on Arduino. In the next tutorial, we'll look at some of the other functions in Arduino and create a blinking LED.